What I really, really want to discuss is something that people talk about all the time, as doesn't the Jewish Bible advocate slavery? So the answer is, of course not. But you see slavery all over the Jewish Bible. So maybe the Jewish Bible does advocate slavery. So the answer is, the word slave is spelled S-L-A-V-E in English in the translation. So it sounds the same. It superficially appears the same, but they have nothing to do with each other. Because in 1844, if you were a black man in Alabama and you wanted to get away, you wanted to do what you could to get away from your slave master, then rather than have to live like garbage, you were subhuman, you lived out in a barn, and slaves fled their masters and were beaten terribly for that. In the Torah, people who were called slaves, again, we're using the same language, but we mean something completely different. In the Torah, a slave was somebody, an Eved was somebody like Eliezer, which means you were not a part of the family. Biologically, you're not related to a family, but you were allowed to join the family in order to benefit from, as though you were a member, biological member of the family. All right, and you had then the responsibilities of the family. That was called an Eved. And in fact, when Abraham was looking that his son Isaac should have a wife, he entrusted Eliezer, his servant, his slave. This is not the slaves of the South picking cotton in the 19th century. This is something completely different. The other kind of slave is the Hebrew slave, and that's the person who stole, and the person who didn't have the money to repay what he stole, so he was an indentured slave, which meant that he had to then serve out work for the person he stole from to repay his debt. Because a slave in the slavery in the United States, in the early years in the United States, take even the primary author of one of the greatest documents of the American founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson owned hundreds of slaves. Okay, those slaves were not free to go. Now, Thomas Jefferson happened to be one of those people. It's kind of a dichotomy. He was a brilliant man and so on, and he did speak about and write about his opposition to it, but he happened to have owned a few hundred slaves. That is immoral. That is sinful, because these people were not free to go. These people were property. A black man, a black woman was 2/3 of a white person. They didn't have the rights of a person. In Jewish law, if you had an Eved in the Torah and there was only one pillow in the house, you know who got it? The slave got it, the servant got it, Eliezer got it, the Eved got it, not you. If there's only one mattress in the house, the Eved is the one who gets it. And in fact, all kinds of, the problem in the Torah, as you can see, this is the point I want to bring out, because this is what the question that is addressed to me frequently. If you notice, the problem of slavery in the Jewish Bible is not the oppression of slaves, it's that slaves loved being a part of the family. That's what it meant. It meant you joined the family, although you weren't biologically connected to the family, you had the responsibility of other family members, and in addition to that, you had the benefits of other family members. In fact, your benefits exceeded that of other members of the family. So it's not slavery of Alabama in 1844. That's the point I want to make. The problem in the Torah was not, like you read Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, where you have, slaves who are on the run. No, the problem is slaves saying, I don't want to go. I love my master. I don't want to go anywhere. That's the point. That's the key point. They have nothing to do with each other. In fact, when God came to Abraham and said, out of you will come a great nation, Genesis 15, Abraham said, you must mean Eliezer, who's my Eved, who is the Damascene. And God says, no, that one shall not inherit you. It will be the one who will come from your loins. So therefore, a person who was an Eved means that a person was a member of the family. That's what it meant. But no, it doesn't mean you're hiring someone, because if you hire someone, that person has the right to quit, the right to, just to walk away, and they're not a part of your family. It's different. And certainly in slavery of European slavery, which is a horrible sin and a horrible crime, they were subhuman. They had no rights. They were property. So they forget about that. It's not like today where there's a welfare state. It's not like today. Like, why was there polygamy? Why would there's a need for someone to become an Eved? So when I teach history, when I teach Tanakh, or when I teach the history of the church, lahavdil, the greatest challenge that I find is that we're thinking 21st century. We're thinking, you can get a job, you can be out there, you can work, you can get yourself an apartment, you can live out there. There's the FBI, there are the police, there's state police, there are local police officers, there are federal police. Well, that's not the way it worked in the ancient world. In the ancient world, there was no police force. There were soldiers, but if you didn't have a family to take care of you, if you didn't have those who would defend you and protect you, if you didn't have a husband that would look over you, if you didn't have someone to take care of you, you were as good as dead. You needed a clan to protect you. Okay? So in the ancient world, if you didn't have a family, if a girl didn't have someone to protect her, to guard her, if a woman was single, and she wanted to have a family, had no security whatsoever, had nothing to protect her, she can join a family, and there was a polygamous marriage in the Torah and throughout Tanakh, throughout the Jewish scriptures. But the model at the time was, by joining the family, you would then, by marrying into the family or becoming a servant in the family, this is critical, you were joining the family, you bore the responsibilities of the family, and you also had all the rights and the benefits of the family. That's the common denominator in all these points. Because if you didn't have family, you had no one to protect you. There was nothing. That was it. It was your family. You had to belong to a large family, and the family would take care of you. You had the benefits, although you were not biologically connected.